This is Carrie with Canary Quilts, and this is week 3 of the Baby Yoda quilt along. So week 1 we went over the pattern and we picked fabrics, and week 2 we actually did the left hand, I'm calling it the left hand side, it's the right hand side. This section right here. And we ended up with his ear and his robe. And I'm making the 25-inch one, so mine's going to be very large. Well, I mean, pretty large, maybe Baby Yoda size. So that's what we did the first week. The second week, this week, the third week, we're going to be doing this section right here, which is E, F, G, and H. So it's not really big, but it is kind of labor intensive. You can see here that there is a lot of little pieces. So you can see here there's a lot of little pieces in this section right here. So we got some work ahead of us. So I've gotten my pieces pulled that I'm going to need, and E is fairly large. Has a lot of pieces. The other 3 aren't that big, but like this one, small, but a lot of pieces. This one's small too, a lot of pieces. And even this little one is a lot of pieces. So that's why I chose a smaller section for this week. And I'm going to start with the big one. I'm going to start with E. I've pulled all the fabrics I need. I went through my color chart here and I looked at the section and I pulled all the fabrics I need. I had to get a white and a black for his pupil, but that's it. I got my add-a quarters for cutting. I got my little rotary cutter. I got my, last week I was using the Sally Tomato pattern. It's fairly stiff so that I could fold the paper over while I was paper piecing. And I got my iron behind me. And my sewing machine over here, which is set up with a 1.5 stitch length. And you do that so that at the end it's really easy to pull the paper off the back. Plus, if you use the newsprint, which I've got a link down below because I love it. The newsprint is very easy. It perforates real easy. Okay, we got some work ahead of us. So I'm going to put you down here on the mat and you can watch how I do this. The first 2 pieces are probably the hardest. You have to line them up, and I told you this last time. You just have to line them up, you have to get them sewn. And then after that, the procedure's exactly the same for every piece. And then you just go in numerical order and follow the pattern. And the hardest part is also, a lot of paper pieces will tell you how big to cut your pieces. These are so intricate that you have to cut the pieces as you go. So here we go. So our first 2 pieces are small, and they're hard to tell because we've got these color numbers in here, but this is the first piece, and it's just basically like a pentagon right here. And here's the second piece, which is a tiny little triangle. And then the third and fourth, and we'll start going around in a circle doing his eye. Yeah, pretty much go in a circle. So I need to cut a tiny piece for E1 and a white piece for E1 and a black piece for E2. So let me get my white out. That's funny, white out. And oh boy, I don't need a big piece. So I'm going to cut myself about a 1.5 by 1.5 just to make sure. And then the black is on top. The only part of this that's not going to be a batik is going to be the black, because I don't have a black batik that I like. So I'm going to cut about the same for this. This is just a Kona cotton. And I'm going to get these ironed. Get my tape out. And I think I'll get a pencil or a pen too, just to help me with these, because they're so small that I might get confused at where they're at. Ooh, I need to cut that. this extra paper I don't need. So E1 is right here. And then E2 is right there. So our sewing line is going to be right here. So I'm going to put my white down because I'm not going to flip that. That's going to stay right here. And I'm going to put it about 1/4 of an inch over this sewing line. And then lay my black on it. And tape it to hold it down. So I am ready now for my first piece. So I'm going to flip it over. And it's hard to see, but I'm going to sew right there. There's my tiny little seam. So let's go back here. Take this off. There's my tiny little seam right there. And what we need to do is flip the black towards that seam and iron it. So we're going to have some big pieces to cut off here as we're going around. So I'm going to get that ironed. So next is E3, which is right here, and that is also a black. So let's find that piece over here. And what's going to be the sewing line? E1, E2, and then E3 is this sewing line right here. So E3 is that piece, and we need to sew right there. Do you see that? Okay, so we have to get ready by cutting on that sewing line. So my pattern is lost. There it is. So we're going to put it right here on the sewing line of E3. And fold it. And then we're going to use our quarter. Add a quarter ruler. And cut that. Okay, we still need a really small black. So I could probably cut about the same piece. Maybe even smaller. And this is our sewing line. I marked the piece there. So I want to line it up where I cut it. And I'm going to have coverage on both sides here. So that's a small piece. Let's tape that down. I'm just going to tape it right there. And we're going to turn it over and sew along E3. So this is where every single piece becomes exactly the same. you're going to cut the size you need. You're going to fold it on the sewing line, cut your 1/4 inch, turn it over, take your piece, lay it down so you have coverage on all sides, and if you flip it, you'll have coverage. And then you're going to turn it over and you're going to sew on this line or the next sewing line, and then you're going to iron it open. Make sure my piece didn't get folded over, and I've lost my piece. I lost it. You just need to get set back up. Just put it in and tape it back down. Tape just needs to hold it till you got it flipped upside down. Okay. E3. There's our next piece. Take the tape off, and then we're gonna iron it this way. And we're ready to go. Ready to go with the next piece. So the next piece is A4, E4, which is right here, and our sewing line is right here. So here is E4. Sewing line's right here. Yep. So we got to cut. So I'm going to cut another piece just pretty much the same size I've been cutting of the black. Right? Yep. E4 is the color black. And then we take it and we'll put it on our next sewing line, fold it, cut our 1/4 inch. So now we take our piece, and we need to have coverage for this, so if I lay it like that, coverage on each side should reach that top. Looks long enough. Let's tape it and sew it. And now we will iron it this way. And you can see that there's coverage. So we're on the right track here. Oops, that is attached. Okay. Well, black's hard to work with. I'll have to cut that later. So I'm going to iron this. Okay, so I think you see where we're going. I'm going to put you a little higher, and I'm just going to keep on working so that you can see what I'm doing. And follow along that way. Last piece. Woohoo! Hi, Snibbies. Hi, Snibbies. What you doing, Bubbers? You helping me out? You helping me out? Are ya? What you doing? What you doing? Okay. Notice I went through, wherever I passed through the seam allowance here, I sewed. So I actually passed through both sides here. Now let's turn this. There we go. We got that section done. So now we can trim it. And you trim on the dotted line or the dashed line, not on the solid line. Don't forget the little dash. Or the little notch, I guess. Okay, so that is section E, which is, let's get the sections out. Which is basically right there. That's what we did, right there. Looks good. I like how the eyelid turned out. Cool. Good job. Okay, let's clean up from this one and we'll go on to F. We'll go on to F. So I've done enough now that I've got like these little scraps that I feel like could be big enough for future pieces, and I have used those. So I just keep a little baggie here of the scraps just in case, so I don't have to start cutting from big pieces. I can pull from here and use them on the small pieces. Okay, so F is a whole bunch of tiny little pieces, so we may get into this bag at some point. This is the other side of his eye. So we're doing this section right here. So we'll be doing his eye again, so I'm sure we're going to be working in some kind of circle, just like we did last time. So, I think you know what you're doing by now. I'll keep the camera running and I'm just going to build this, and if you have any issues with yours, you can come back and see how I did mine. Well, congratulations, you made it through this bottom piece here. That was a toughie. There are so many little spots in there, but as long as you stick to your formula of how you put your paper piecing together like I taught you, then you'll make it through okay. So now it's time to put these pieces together. Go back to our order of piecing on the first page, and we're here. VW is this whole section over here. We haven't done that. So we're at G, H, F, and E, or E, F, G, and H, whichever way, but we're gonna start with G and attach that to H. This is G, and this is H, and we're gonna match up the notches we cut with the edge of the pat. Whoops, well, we gotta do right sides together. The notches we cut with the edge of the fabric, and you see that it fits perfectly there. And so we'll clip that, and you'll sew right on this solid line right there. There's our line, and then we'll flip it up like that. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I did it the same way on the first one. We're gonna flip it up. So I'll get that ironed, and then we'll move on to attaching these two pieces to F, which is this one. Okay. There we go, got his little nose and mouth, and it's the beginning of his cup here. So now we're gonna attach these two pieces together, and we're gonna line those notches we cut out of it with the edge of the fabric. Fits perfectly. Get those lined up, clip it, and sew it on this solid line. There we go. So usually I let my feed dogs do all the work, and I don't push my fabric through, but there is a lot of fabric here. So you may need to help it through your machine. So I'm just gonna fold this over and iron it like this. Actually, I'm gonna do it like this because that's how it really wants to go. There's too much fabric on this side. So iron towards his right eye. Okay, now we can put his entire face together. So we'll go just like that. And we've got these notches. And it's a big long piece, so I'm going to clip this end. Clip the other end, and then just make sure it's lined up in between. So on the solid line. So this one we are going to iron towards his left eye because again that's naturally where it wants to fall. And woo, we'll have our little Yoda face. Baby Yoda face. Look at that cutie. Look at him, he's so cute. So we aren't gonna sew these together, but that's how, whoops, I got it the wrong way. He needs an ear. That's how it's gonna look. Oh my God, it's gonna be so cute. And you can see with my hands how big this is gonna be. I can't even fit it all into the shot. Okay, nice job. That was pretty intense. So, take a breather, come back next week, and we are going to be doing E, F, G, H, I through S. So this section right here. It won't be quite as intense as this section, but there are some smaller pieces here, but we'll be able to get through this and we'll be able to sew it to his face. And then the last week of sewing will be all of this because those are fairly big pieces. So next week, come on back here and we'll do this section and we'll be even closer to being done. So if you've just shown up for this video and you want to follow along with us, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can go over to my website, canaryquilts.com, sign up for our newsletter to get notified when we'll be doing the next one. And I will put a link down to the first 2 videos, so if you want to actually do this, you can get started with us there. So thank you very much.